So you're an actor, an airline pilot, right? An entrepreneur, not to mention a podcaster, a YouTuber.
Yeah.
You're an interesting guy. That's why I wanted you on. Everybody, please welcome Daniel Knightley to my podcast. Daniel,
Hello.
how are you? How are you,
I'm
mate?
very good.
Where you been? What have you been up to?
Oh God. Well, as I said before, I mean, it's just been a very interesting last 12 months. Obviously, everyone's going through the same situation. So it's, I've had to do a lot of adapting, but I've managed to sort of come out on top with most of the things that I want to do. I'm starting a couple of businesses, under the ground, and it seems like they've really picked up. Given all the restrictions going on, it's still been quite easy to, start things up and, continue business as normal per se. So yeah, it's been pretty active. I've been pretty busy given all the closures.
Are you allowed to talk about the businesses, or are they a secret?
Yeah, no, by all means, yeah. So we're kind of, I'm working with my partner on this new product in the food market. Porridge, more specifically. I can't go any further than that because it's still very much sort of under the wrap, so to speak. But we're finalising the design and everything at this moment in time, and we're working with people that will be sourcing the produce and distributing it across the UK and potentially the States or India or China. One of the superpowers. That's where we're aiming at predominantly the next year of sale, I guess. So. Yeah, sure.
And have you got any mentors or anybody helping you out with this stuff, or you just doing it off your own?
What, in terms of like guiding me through it, you mean, or just someone like?
Yeah, because I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people come up with ideas. It's how you execute the plan to get it to market. Is the issue that a lot of people fall over on.
Yeah.
Me being myself, I've done the same thing, so I know.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It is a pretty tough one. I think for me, it's always been trial and error. This is not the first time I've tried to run a business. And believe it or not, this is my 7th time trying to run something. So all the others did fail.
You've got another 20 more to go, at least.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Literally, like, this is the first time I'm actually seeing a glimmer of hope and this actually might work. Like, there's a sense of, like, realization that this could be the one based on all of the previous experiences I've had trying to run things in the past. So it's quite exciting, and it's gotten a lot of positive feedback from people that we don't know, but just have seen it and gone, we can definitely work with this. So it's very exciting stuff.
Yeah, it sounds good. So how did you become a YouTuber podcaster? What happened there?
I mean, you know what? It was just, I have so much to say about specifically the automotive community and what goes on, as well as a little bit of aviation here and there. And I just wanted to show people my thoughts and my opinions on things. I'm quite opinionated on certain things, as I'm sure you probably heard from some of my podcasts. But I guess, there's a large group of people out there whose voices aren't being heard, and they probably feel like, with me, there's no hinges attached with me. I'll tell you how it is 9 times out of 10. So I'm not really, I don't like to sugarcoat things, and I like to be brutally honest about what's going on in the industry. And a lot of YouTubers and influencers kind of shy away from that because I think they fear that they will sort of get eliminated, so to speak, from manufacturers and brands that might come in and go, what, we can collaborate with this person, or we could give this person a long-term loaner. There's so much of that going on, I call it loan car manipulation sort of thing, or free car manipulation. I came up with a really cool word the other day. I can't remember what it was, but a lot of these guys are getting stuff for free, and that's the pull, is that they're getting stuff for free. Which kind of distorts their mindset and what they truly think, and they just don't want to say that because they don't want to, pee off the guys that have given them a £300,000 car for a month or something. There's a lot of manipulation going on, and I just think it's my job to feel like I should educate the consumer and people on what's really going on behind closed doors, and debunking misinformation, so to speak.
Yeah, I was talking with another guy that I had a podcast with the other day. He's a car journalist, actually. And he said to me, he flew to Dubai and took out a McLaren, I think it was a P1 or something like that. And he said that he came back, did the review, and McLaren have never spoken to him again about it. They've never offered him any cars. They've just written him off, basically.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But that's, I mean, it takes some big kahunas to do that. I mean, the thing is that you'll either get respected for doing it if you've got an established platform, or you'll just be cast aside if they think you're small enough to be cast aside.
Jeremy Clarkson is not big, and he's not small enough to be cast aside, is he?
Exactly. So his opinion on things has always been very controversial, which I think has been the biggest pull with Jeremy Clarkson and Chris Harris as well. He's another one. He is brutally honest. You know, some of the stuff he talks about, he's on the money 9 times out of 10. I mean, his podcast, Collecting Cars podcast, is just, it's amazing. Some of the stuff they talk about on there and how upfront and honest he is with these huge people that have been in the industry for 20, 30 years is just undeniably attractive to listen to. Like, it's just so cool to hear that from someone, you know?
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. And also what I like about him, he tells the truth, doesn't he? He tells you if the car's handling wrong or if it's got a problem with the braking system or the engine's not. He always says it. And I like listening to him. I don't listen to his podcast so much. I YouTube him mostly. But when I first started out on this podcasting journey, which is only about 6 months ago now, I remember I've got a virtual assistant in India who does a lot of my stuff for me, you know. And I remember saying to him, I want 200,000-300,000 followers like this guy. And I sent an image to him and I said to him, this is the guy I'm trying to emulate. Completely wrong on my part, because I'm not trying to emulate anyone. I'm trying to be myself. Now, I'm taking my aerospace engineering background into the automotive industry. And I'm saying, let's have a look at how they're made, how carbon fiber tubs are made and stuff. And this is where I'm going with it, right? So what I'm trying to say is, I was trying to copy somebody who I didn't realize has got a massive team behind him, lots of money going into it, lots of money. And he's probably got other platforms and other businesses that he uses to kind of make himself more known, if you like. And so in the end, I just said to my virtual assistant, I said, look, axe all of that. Let's continue on the path we started on that. And that is to show people the reality of owning a supercar, owning a hypercar, electric car market, what's going on with that. Just speaking of, like you really, just speaking about it really. So, and I'm also into the entrepreneurial side, although I haven't been that successful yet. But you know, I've had some products go out. I've had some products not so good. You know, this is my own design, so I design my own things here at home. I've got a CAD machine right next to me there, and I come up with an idea, model it up, send it to a 3D printer, have a look at it, play with it, and then send it out to a manufacturer, say how much for 1,000 units or whatever. And so that's where I am with my podcasting. I've just started out, so you're my 14th podcast, I'd say.
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
you got to start somewhere with it. I think the rule with all this stuff is just consistency. Honestly, I think that is the bread and butter of all this stuff on social media. As long as you're sort of maintaining some type of flow, I think that you're in good stead. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. It's just maintaining, I guess. Yeah.
So I saw your video actually on your do you own a 911 GT3?
I do, yes.
That's yours? And is that in LA? Is it?
It's in Los Angeles, It's probably one of the most modified GT3s in the world. Like I've gone to complete town on it. Like I am a huge aftermarket snob when it comes to unleashing the true power of any car. And the one thing that they don't tell you when you buy a car is how restricted it actually is based on government requirements. You know, catalytic converters and mufflers and all those type of things. That's all stuff that reduces the potential of the engine as well as the noise, which I'm obsessed with. Especially on a GT3 that revs to 9,000 RPM. So that was my first thing to do. Like within 24 hours of having it, I already had the cats out and I already had the mufflers off. I straight piped it immediately.
Really? Seriously? Did you do it yourself or did you get somebody?
I did not. No, I went to a dodgy muffler shop somewhere in the Valley area, which I kind of regret doing because I think the welding job was similar to something of a 2-year-old. So it wasn't the best welding I've ever seen. But when I took it to the real shop, they're like, who did your welding for you? So just these guys, you know, it doesn't matter. Just a friend. Shrug it off.
So what horsepower are you running on that then? What's the...
So basically, with the current exhaust system I got on there, so I've got, intake manifold was done, and then the catback was done. It's an Inconel system, so it's good at dealing with really high temperatures. Also, it's titanium, so it resonates beautifully in the car and outside. So with the Gintani tune that I did for the burbles, pops and bangs and flames, all that kind of stuff, it's pushing over 545 brake horsepower now.
Yeah,
and
that's a light car, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For its weight as well, it's well under 2,700, 27,850. It's under 27,850 now. It was over that before. So I've dropped a lot of weight out of the car, and you can really feel that on the road as well.
Yeah. Because I noticed you got some bars behind you as well. Was that factory, or did you put that in yourself?
No, that's aftermarket. So the previous owner, he basically tracked the car for 23,000 miles at Laguna Seca. So he had it parked in a garage at Laguna Seca, and it never left the track. So it's done all its mileage on the track. I was the first guy.
Wow. Wow. How did you find that car? How did you?
So basically, I was just looking on Auto Trader, and I was trying to find, a car that sort of met my needs and a good price. And I bought it last year, sort of towards the end of the summer, and that's when things were just tanking because of COVID. So it was good in. And I still believe that's dropping in some areas, depending on certain cars you're looking at. The more commonly sold ones are probably affected a bit more than the rare stuff. But when I saw where it was at, and I was like, oh God, that's a lot of car for the money. And I looked into it, I called them up and I said, look, send me a damage report. And I had them send it to a special Porsche dealer who did all the tests and everything to make sure everything was clean.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with it. It was in perfect condition. So I was like, yep, that's got my name on it. And I just went to town and got the finance sorted out and just bought the car, and that's it.
Yeah. I think is it right in me saying it's easier to buy a car in the States than it is in the UK for finance?
I mean, I haven't bought a car in the UK for almost 6 years now, so I can't remember the process. I know that it's very lengthy here, from what I remember. I would probably say if you're doing it outright, or if you're doing it with finance, it's probably about the same. I think I wouldn't say it's any different.
Okay.
I think they're a lot more lenient with getting it to you, though. Like, I think if you're in California and there's a car 3,000 miles away in New York, they will, bust their backside to make sure they get it to you in a time frame that you tell them. So they are pretty good with customer service that way. I'm not sure if I can say the same for some brands in this country that I've dealt with in the past. But other than that, I'd say it's probably about the same, I think.
Yeah, because I was looking at 911. See, 911 is my favourite car of all time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I nearly bought one a few years ago. My wife said to me, actually, no, do you want to buy an apartment in Dubai? I said, not really. I was looking to get a Porsche 911, a 1970s one. And she said, oh, no, this will go up more in value. So we bought an apartment in Dubai. And then the second time I saved up, I actually got some money together, and she said, oh, let's have a baby. We put the money in baby's account, obviously, now. Yeah. So now I'm saving up for the third time. I know something else is going to go. Something else. Either another child's going to come. Something's going to happen. Something. But so 911s. I was looking at Beverly Hills Car Club. They sell a lot of cars.
Oh yeah.
They sell a lot of cars, and I was looking at them and thinking, actually, would it be okay to drive left-hand side car in the UK? And what's your thoughts on that? Do you think?
That's interesting. So basically, before lockdown, I was planning on bringing an American muscle car back to the UK for a tour. And it was a way of kind of collaborating with other social media influencers and people that don't normally see cars like that on the road. It was going to be a Camaro ZL1 1LE, which is probably one of the most underrated supercars of our generation. Like, literally, it's just gone completely under the radar.
And how much are they going for now?
You can buy one second hand for under $65,000.
Yeah, I thought so. They're quite cheap.
It's a lot of car for the money. I go on about that car continuously, like on my YouTube and on podcasting and stuff. But it's just the numbers and what it got, and its lap time at the Nürburgring. Everyone's kind of just shrugged their shoulders at it. 7 minutes 15 seconds for a car that weighs well over a ton. That's got about 300 pounds worth of downforce at 155 miles an hour. I mean, that's something you've got to turn your head at. And it's an American car we're talking about here. It's not some sort of something out of Stuttgart or somewhere from BMW or Mercedes. It's an American car. And I think that kind of ties into sort of the European approach to American manufacturers and how they build their cars. I mean, it's changed immensely over the past decade. Like, General Motors made a point of saying, look, we're not about marketing anymore, because that's what they've been doing for the past 50 years. They've finally got the right people in the right place, where they've got engineers and mechanics running the show. Following form and function together in harmony to build these absolute weapon beasts. That's the only way to describe them. That can handle and sound amazing at the same time. So it's a win-win, really.
What are they, 800 horsepower? roughly?
No, so stock, the ZL11LE, it comes in a 6-speed manual and now a 10-speed automatic. It's an LT4 engine, 6.3 litre. It's 650 horsepower, 650 pounds-feet of torque.
Wow.
So pretty well-rounded number, but the torque is the one that got me. That's a lot of torque.
Yeah.
Which I love torque.
Yeah, and torque is what gets the power to the wheels, isn't it? It's what actually causes the car to really shift, and that's why electric cars are so they're quite fast, aren't they? They're very 0 to 60 times unbelievable on the electric cars.
They are. I mean, all you need to do is look at the Tesla Roadster at Santa Monica when they unveiled it, and they were doing that. You know, when they had the press conference there and they were driving through that tunnel. And they had accelerations. It didn't look real. It looked like something out of like some post sort of Premiere Pro job. It just didn't look right. I was like, how the hell is it going that quick? It's unbelievable. It's like 0 to 60 is dealt with in, I think, 1.9 seconds. I mean, that's unbelievable. It's unreal. That's a quick car, and I'm trying not to take too much notice of electric cars, but I've had an electric car guy on my podcast, and he kind of the way he was talking was like electric cars are going to take over the world. Oh, dear.
I was thinking, but how are they going to do that with the infrastructure? Because we can't build enough power stations to cope with. There's 45 million cars in the UK, apparently, according to the internet. You're not going to be able to power all those cars in one. You can't.
No. I mean, as we know, the national grid operates at the mid 90 percentile. So it's not. I think it's inevitable the direction we're going in, but I don't think the outcome is going to be the same as what most people would expect it to be. So I think it's going to be very different. Sorry, I've got someone banging on my door. Can you give me a second?
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right.
I had a family member locked out of the house.
Oh no, yeah. So what was we saying? Yeah, electric cars. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like the smell, the sound of engines. V8s, V12s, straight sixes. I love the sound of them. So I don't know whether I'm going to be able to buy all the cars that I've got in my little list of wanted cars over the next 10 years. But I'm hoping, because I went to order a new Mini, because I drive a Mini Countryman. That's my
I'm currently driving it for the past 2 months.
Yeah, so that's my daily driver.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, "Why don't you get a new one, brand new? Just jump into a new." This is about a 4-year-old Countryman. And I said to her, let's have a look. So I rang up the dealer, and I said to the BMW Mini dealer, I said, I need a new Countryman. What have you got? And they said, well, we stopped doing the diesel. And I'm thinking, but with my diesel, I only fill up once a week. That's it. Yeah. And I do 500 or 600 miles a week. So I'm thinking, what have you got? And she said, we've got hybrids or petrol. And I was thinking, I'm not interested. I'd just rather just run this car into the ground and just do it like that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because the way the governments are shifting things is they're making you get out of. So they made you get into a diesel. Now they're making you get out of diesel.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit like, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be in a position in 10 years' time, in 2030, saying to myself, right, I want an Aston Martin. It has to be V12. It's one of my favourite cars.
Yeah.
Or I want to get a 4-litre. Say I had enough money, the 4-litre Singer 911.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I'm like, okay, am I going to be able to buy those cars? That's the bloody question, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's a very controversial topic, this, and I get a lot of people on both sides arguing their point. But I think what you have to do in this situation is look at the economics behind the automotive industry, and also have an understanding of how politics affects all of those things at the same time. There's definitely a disconnect and a disparity between what government officials want to happen in the time frame that they need it to, which is unrealistic. It's unobtainable, and it's not commercially viable on a large scale whatsoever. And you know, Chris Harris can attest to this as well. He's mentioned this a number of times. If you listen to the Collecting Cars podcast, he goes on about this at length and says that at this moment in time, he believes that EVs are a bit of a bubble. And it's not the final solution. Case in point, well, two reasons actually. So I think it was BMW and Audi announced that they will not be returning to Formula E. Now, those are the two biggest brands in that sport, and they've decided to remove themselves from Formula E. Now, I'm not sure if that's because of the turnover of money that they're making from the sport, or if it's they just don't see a future in esports in that particular sector. But it's going to be one of the two. Because there's no other reason for a big brand like that to say we're done, because they've got plenty of money on tap. That's not an issue for them.
Yeah.
Another example is that Porsche, after making the Taycan, have now they haven't talked about this a lot, but if you look at on their website, there are forums and things where they talk about things they're doing. They're now R&Ding something called e-fuel, which they debuted in their new Panamera EGT something or other. I can't remember the exact name, but Henry Catchpole reviews this car on Carfection. It's one of I think it's one of the third or fourth videos that he's done over the past 2 months. And he talks about how the car is groundbreaking in that it gives a solution to manufacturers to have a zero emissions car by using e-fuel, which is hydrogen fuel, compressed water, basically.
Yes.
It emits nothing, but you can still operate a normal internal combustion engine with that type of fuel, which means the internal components don't need to be changed too drastically to operate that type of fuel. So he gave an example of a 250 GTO and said, look, I can still keep my 250 GTO. All they need to do is tweak a few things in the engine and it can accept this type of fuel. And I think that's a far more viable solution to not only preserve motorsport, because motorsport has the word motor in it. It's about motorsport. It's a mechanical discipline. And I don't see a future of F1, for example, being electric. I don't see a future of going to Lamborghini in the future and buying a £350,000 electric. That doesn't appeal to me. So it doesn't. It really doesn't.
And hopefully the sound is the same with the hydrogen fuel cell.
Oh no, it's completely the same. I mean, the best part about that is that typically unleaded fuel gives you a fuel to air ratio. I believe it's 14 to 1. With hydrogen fuel, it's 35 to 1. So you're getting far more performance, and range I think is around the same, if not a little bit more improved, but that lifespan of that engine is going to be tenfold in terms of its, sort of integrity over a period of 10 years of driving. So it's just all bonuses, really. There's not really anything bad about it. There's just no infrastructure around it, because I guess energy companies are just looking at gas because it's there now and they can make money off the amount of barrels they're selling in Saudi Arabia or something right now. So I think that's what the problem is.
Oil. It's about oil. In my opinion, the I don't want to go too controversial, but the Iraq War was about oil, wasn't it?
Of course it was. Absolutely. Yeah.
So as Joe Rogan points out, some of the companies that rebuilt the country had directors who actually said, press the button and attack them from America. So it's an interesting dynamics. Hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping that in my lifetime I won't see petrol engines go completely dead.
No, I don't think they will. I think the future is going to be, it's not going to be fully electric. I think it's going to be a combination of electric, internal combustion, hybrid, and then e-fuel. I think it's going to be all of them. I think when you go to a gas station in 10, 15 years from now, you'll be able to charge your car and then put some sort of misty gas in your car, put regular gas in your car, or fuel, sorry, been in the States too long. And, other forms of fuel. I don't think it's just going to be electric takeover, goodbye everything else. I don't think that it's not. They know it's not possible. I'm sorry, but a lot of these brands, they know that they can't do that. Hence why Porsche is looking at e-fuel already. So it's the proof's in the pudding.
Have you heard of Robo Race?
Robo Race? No, I haven't. No, what is that? It sounds pretty crazy.
So there's a billionaire Russian guy who runs charged cars. Have you heard of charged cars?
Charged cars? No.
No. Okay, so let me educate you a little bit then. I've learned a lot from you. Hopefully you'll learn a lot from me now. So charge cars, they take a 60s Mustang shell and they put an electric motor in it. They're based here in London.
Okay.
And they do a fantastic job. A friend of mine's the harness electrical manager for the company, and we used to work together back in the day. And now he's working there. But the reason I mentioned Robo Race, because Robo Race, I think, is a sister company of Charge Cars. Now, all their vehicles are electric. And I had an interview a couple of years ago for Robo Race to go and be an engineer there. Now, Robo Race is pilotless cars, no race driver. It's all remote control from the pit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very controversial, isn't it?
I'm thinking to myself, what is this absolute, excuse my language, bollocks? You know what I mean? Like, where does this come from now? Yeah. Like, motor racing is about the driver for me.
Yeah.
Firstly, and then it's about the car.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. Obviously, now we've got Formula One. Formula One's a little bit different because if you've got a better car, you're going to win.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in the old days, if you go back to this, you know, even the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, it was the best driver that won, even in the worst car. So for me, it's, I don't know. I don't know how successful they are. I only follow them a little bit on LinkedIn, and I kind of try and keep up with them to see what they're up to. But I'm not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of driverless cars on motor racing circuits at all. Yeah,
I think when it comes to things like that, I think you've got to be very careful, especially if you're on the grand stage and you intend on injecting a lot of advertising and marketing with a platform like that, because I think what you cannot deny or ignore is taking a 15 or 12-year-old or 10 or 8-year-old to an F1 race back in, I guess, anywhere pre-2012 before they went turbocharged.
Yeah.
I mean, the noise that you get at Silverstone when you watch F1, you've got to be there to see it. And once you've seen it, that's it. It's game over. You'll never be able to shake that.
Yeah.
It's the same I felt about when I went to Air Tattoo for the first time up in Oxford, where they do it's the largest air show in the world. And when I saw an F-22 take off for the first time, it's the first time I saw that stealth fighter, Gen 5. I was blown away by not only the noise, but just the majestic power and grace that this thing had in front of me. And I was with somebody that had no interest in aircraft, but even when she looked at it, she was like, whoa, that's different. Like, it invokes a response from your body that's inherently associated with those type of things. And what people seem to be doing is they seem to be removing the passion element out of these things, which is what it's all about. It's almost like they're moving the heart and soul of what we love in motorsport out the way and replacing it with something that's just completely synthetic. That's what it feels is going on. Dehumanizing almost. It's weird.
Yeah, it's strange because I've been around fighter jets in my early career. Yeah. Maybe once a week I was down at the airfield somewhere doing a test with either a Harrier, a Tornado, and in the end we were testing Eurofighter.
Oh,
and
nice.
I tell you, when those things fly over you, and I'm talking about we're in a Welsh valley.
You're RF Valley. Is that where you were?
Yeah. So we're in a valley in a bunker, and what we're doing is we're sending signals to the pilot to see if he can track where we are. So we're doing the radar, the electronic warfare kind of side of it, making sure that his chaff works and his towed decoy works and all the things that we designed for the aircraft. And I tell you, when they come over, I'm assuming he was quite low, but my cup of tea fell off the table, honestly. And I was in a bunker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They got some serious kit. I mean, for me, the Harrier's my favourite aircraft. And if there's a video online on YouTube, if you go to the, was it the Falklands they fought at? Yeah,
they were in the Falklands against the, I think at the time, what did the Argentinians have? I can't remember the name of the aircraft they had. It'll come to me in a bit, but it was a Delta Wing aircraft. I just can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember. But they messed them up pretty good, didn't they?
Yep. They had their answers handed to them for sure.
Yeah. And watching that video, if you go on YouTube, you can see that video where it's a documentary. And I'll tell you, I love that aircraft. And one of my lecturers was the head designer of the Harrier.
Oh, really?
He's now passed away, but he was in his, I think he was in his 90s when he was teaching us in the early 2000s at Kingston University.
Wow.
And he was a character because he used to talk about the times of when he used to design the aircraft. So we're talking aerodynamics here.
Yeah.
Of the Harrier jump jet, or the Harrier fighter, whatever you want to call it. And it was an amazing experience to see and hear the stories. I mean, one of our lecturers lost his hearing on his right ear because he was the tester for Concorde engines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
was he at Bristol? Is that
yeah,
what he?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, I think he was at Bristol. Yeah, he was at Bristol, and he used to say to us, "Can you speak in the left ear? My right ear, I can't hear nothing." And he'd be like, "What's wrong with you?"
I love those old boys. I did all the ground school with guys like that, and they're just, you never forget the lectures because they've got so many stories. Because every time you learn something in aviation, especially in this country anyway, there are always characters. That's always a thing. Yeah. They're either ex-military or have just got a copious amount of hours flying long-haul 747s with all these crazy stories. And every single time we had to learn something, they always used a story as an example. I just thought it was brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah. Like when I left school, I was a chef. I became a chef. The same school as Jamie Oliver went to. I think I was a year above him or a year below him. I can't remember, but he weren't famous then, so I didn't know him. But I remember we had the head lecturer there. He had, excuse my language, but he was a big guy. You know, his belly was out here, and he used to come along, and he was almost like nothing works without butter, and he'd get these two fingers and put it in the butter, the tub, take it out like that, chuck it in the pan, and he used to just toss the vegetables like this, tell us to hurry up, do this, do that. And he used to have these stories where he used to work at the Savoy Hotel in the 60s. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is new levels for me.
Sticking fingers in butter. I mean, I think that's enough.
and one time he was like, taste it, son, taste it. He was going to me. I said, taste what? He said, taste the sauce. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean taste the sauce? I haven't got a spoon. He went, just stick your fingers in. He just went like that. And it was boiling. The thing was boiling, and he just like this. I'm like, what is going on here?
That is asbestos hands for sure. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I worked at the Goring Hotel, which you probably know of.
Yeah.
So I was an apprentice chef there, and they used to come to me. They used to go, "Those carrots are for the Queen Mother, so make sure you make them nice." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "No, okay, oui, chef." Every time you answered them, you had to say "oui, chef." My French was absolutely appalling. I mean, I speak fluent Turkish, but that's because my mum and dad taught me. But I remember once I was walking around so we had an aisle of stoves behind us, and then you would go in the middle and toss the vegetables. You'd look after the grill. You'd do all this stuff. And one day they were like, "You're not moving fast enough, chef." I'm like, "I'm wearing clogs. What do you want me to do?" I'm like, "Okay, chef, no problem." They whacked vegetable oil on the floor, so you could slide in between the stoves and in between the deep fat fryer to the grill, back again to the vegetables. It was a mad experience. Anyway, one day, one of my colleagues fell straight into the fryer up to here. They stopped it after that. They stopped putting the oil on the floor.
Oh my God! Was he okay? I mean, did he?
Oh, he was third degree burns. He was messed up for a long time. But it's funny because one day we had a service, and a service is about 2 hours normally, and that's the most stressful time of a chef's life. Yeah. About 2 hours. All the prep goes on before. That's fine. You've got to cut vegetables quickly. I was mostly on the vegetables because I was an apprentice chef and I was learning. But occasionally, you'd go to the butcher's department and help him out. He was a funny character. really old English guy, stuck in his ways, didn't want anyone to cut the meat apart from him. And then we had the bakery section, which I love cooking cakes and croissants and stuff. So we learned a little bit there. I remember one day during service, one of the chefs, I think he cut himself and the sweat was dripping from him, right? And I'm going, I'll look after this. Go and sort your fingers out. He was like, no way. And he sealed it on the stove in front of my eyes. Ooh. In front of my eyes. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I said, that's a wrap for me. That's a wrap. I gave my notice. I said, that's enough.
Crazy. That's too much. That's too
much.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they still do it now, but I know chefing environment's a very tough environment.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. I remember I used to watch a lot of the old Gordon Ramsay videos when he was, back in England when he was relatively young. He kind of always looked old anyway, but, but he was, some of the interactions, especially with the French chefs and like the French establishments. Yeah. It's like military precision in there. Like it's just, you might as well salute every time you're given a request. It's insane. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. My favorite thing to do is to combine cooking and cars, right? So what I do is, say for example, when COVID allows us, I like to drive to France or Italy, one of those two, because they're, in my opinion, they're the best chefs in the world. And you would stop somewhere, and it would look like a flipping dive, it would look such a horrible place. And you go in there, you've got some auntie there behind the counter, and she's cooking the most amazing French dishes you've ever had in your life. And I had that. We went down to, where was it? So it was 500 Ferraris meeting at a racetrack in the south of France. I don't know what racetrack it was. It's on my Instagram. I posted loads of pictures. It was about 5 years ago. So my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, they booked it up for, I think, my father-in-law's birthday. My father-in-law is a Ferrari expert. That's what he does for a living. That's what he learned in Sicily when he was a teen. He learned how to do engines in Sicily and Italy, then came over here. And we went down to this circuit, and I remember going down, and then afterwards we were driving around the old town, and there was nothing open apart from this restaurant. It had 2 Ferraris outside that had been at the track earlier. And I said, well, we can't go wrong here. If they're eating here, it should be all right. And it was the most amazing food. And I like doing that. I like parking up with the car, just going inside, having some food, having a nice cappuccino or an espresso afterwards. Yeah. And then doing another road trip to somewhere else or seeing something. And that's what I wanted to do with this YouTube and this podcasting.
Yeah, that's a pretty unique idea. And I think that's something, those are the ideas and those are the things that usually blow up, because it's something that people don't regularly see. Yeah. I've always found that when people do journeys of any type within the automotive space or food even, if I see their journey, and I don't really care about the quality of it, whether it's a handheld camera or a frigging Epic Red, but if they're going from point A to point B and there's a bit of a mission involved of some kind, I always find those so fascinating to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. Give me 1 second. Someone's just come to the door, I think, as well. Hang on.
That's all right.
Hang on, give me a sec. Just got to run downstairs. Hang on.
No problems.
Oh my God. It's all going on today.
It's Valentine's. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So what's your dream car then? What's your...
Ooh, dream car. Oh my God. I mean, there's so many. It's very hard to narrow it down. It changes on a regular basis, honestly. But if I'm going to stick to my guns on this one, it's probably going to be a Zonda 760 RS, the last NA V12 that Pagani Horatio made before he went to the Wyra, which is now the turbocharged Mercedes engine V12 that he's got in all those new ones.
Yeah. Is that a Mercedes engine as well, though?
I think the new one is. Yeah, I think they're all Mercedes. I think
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of AMGs?
Do you know what? I am and I'm not. I think the previous gen was probably the best I've ever seen. Sort of the NA C63, the naturally aspirated one. Mm-hmm. I think it had so many awards, and it was just it's kind of like a European muscle car. That's how I see those cars. They were designed to just put a smile on your face, because the back end was so lively that when you put your foot down, you could do a spin on a dime. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I had an Amg Gtr for a while, and I thought it was a good attempt to take a shot at the big boys. And the reason why that car came out is because they wanted to take a portion of the market away from the GT3 RS owners and put them into Amg GTRs instead. But what they ended up doing is building a terrific road car, but a pretty soft track car, which is quite interesting. And I think the Pro kind of tweaked it a little bit, and they tried to make it an all-rounder. But I think it's a very good first attempt for Mercedes to do that.
Yeah. And what do you think of the new T50 from Gordon Murray?
Oh my God. Okay. I was waiting for you to ask me this. I was hoping you would. So this is my take. I think that he's doing a final hurrah. Given that it's a 6-speed manual, I think that's a huge deal, especially with all the stuff that's coming out now. I mean, most manufacturers wouldn't even begin to do that unless, of course, you're Porsche. But I think it's a feat of engineering. And I believe that he's going to transform the industry slightly with that car, because it's going to be like when the F1 first came out back in the 90s.
Because that's his design as well, isn't it?
Say again?
The F1's his design as well, isn't it?
Yeah. He's the same guy. So basically, it's basically a reiteration of that car, but none of the thoughts. So it's got this incredible downforce system, which is why you see that fan at the back. It acts as like an invisible wing that kind of trails behind the car up to a meter behind the car, which gives it unbelievable downforce. Which is adjustable. But his ethos was, I think he described it as a Lotus Elise with a 650 horsepower V12 in the back. So, I mean, straight away I'm thinking about weight. It's 950 kilos or less. And it's pushing, just slightly over 650 horsepower, NA V12. I just think it's going to be an absolute monster to drive. And I think people will love it. However, looks-wise, not so keen. I do think it's quite an ugly car. I don't think it's a very attractive looking car.
I didn't like the rear of it. As soon as I saw that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm an aircraft man, so I like aircraft, but to have that thing in the middle, that fan kind of, it wasn't my cup of tea, to be honest.
Yeah, it's quite controversial in that respect. Definitely the design as well.
Yeah, I quite like the new Lamborghini look though. There was one on Instagram a few weeks ago.
What, the SVJ or?
Yeah, the SVJ had a 63 on the door.
Oh, yeah.
That one, beautiful car, absolutely stunning car. Again, they're not Italian anymore. They're Audi, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they. I think what happens is that they run things as normal in, where are they based again? But they're in Bologna, aren't they? Lamborghini. I think they're Bologna. So I think Audi oversee the drivetrain, but I think Lamborghini still assemble everything at the factories. It's not overseen by Audi. I just think that they own the company. So what they've done is I think they've come in and gone, right, let's make this more reliable, because Lamborghinis back in the day, as we know, just broke down all the time. So they basically made a reliable Italian car, which I think is brilliant. But yeah, I drove an Aventador. I had an Aventador for a while, and oh my God, it's undeniably probably one of the most exciting things I've ever driven before.
Yeah. It sounds to me like you've owned quite a few supercars then, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, long-term loaners and things, just friends who have quite a large collection. They kind of said, let's take the car for a while, let me know what you think. Because they kind of value my opinion. I've got to a stage with some of these people, especially in Beverly Hills, where they're just like, yeah, let's take the car, but just, don't scratch it or anything, but just, let me know what you think. Come back to me and tell me what you think I should do, if I should keep it, if I should sell it. And they're very open, very nice people. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah. So what do you think of Lotus then? What's happening with Lotus? Because Lotus, they've come up with this, was it Elijah? What was this car that
the Avaya, I think it's pronounced, but I like to call it the STD car because it sounds like some kind of horrible disease. I think in terms of looks, I think they've accomplished something quite impressive. I am a little bit disappointed that they went down the hypercar electric route. Given that Lotus are so motorsport focused, and they've always been very stubborn with the type of cars that they design, because they still look like go-karts now, and they've been around longer than Ferrari, but they haven't really evolved the way I thought they would. I thought they would be a bigger competitor to like McLaren, Ferrari, Porsche at this stage, but they've kept themselves small, and they've stayed true to their ethos of drive first, looks later. And I don't think it's working for them. I thought the Esprit was a great move in the right direction back in I think that came out in the twin turbo V8. I think that came out in 98 or 97. They debuted that car actually on Pretty Woman. What's it? I can't remember her name now.
Julia Roberts.
Julie Roberts and the other guy who I forget. But that's when that came out, and I thought, wow, that's a move in the right direction. But yeah, I think they're in trouble. I really do.
Do you?
Yeah.
They
change owners every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. And what do you think of the new Alpine GT?
Alpine GT.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, so that's an interesting proposition. I think that no one saw that coming. A lot of people like the car as a driver's car. Apparently, it's very back to basics with, fundamental driving skills and all that type of stuff. I haven't driven one personally. Again, because it's French, their design's always a bit too quirky for me. I don't really like the way it looks, but I'm sure if I got behind the wheel, I'd fall in love with it. Yeah. So I think it's a 50-50 split with that car, I think.
Yeah. I've heard it's got good handling and really nice to drive, apparently.
Yeah.
But I'm not always keen on this. Let's make because the original Alpine came out, and now this one's come out, and they keep doing this with a lot of cars, don't they? They come out with there's going to be a new TVR. Griffith.
Yeah, they keep doing reiterations of the old stuff instead of innovating in a new space. I think they're gonna. I don't think TVR is gonna be successful. No,
I just don't.
Right now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they've still got the factory in just up north somewhere in north of England, but I'm not sure what they're doing with it because I think. I mean, I always speak to my father-in-law, and I say to him every time, I say, "What's a good mechanical car to drive? Like good." So if I want to buy a supercar, what car can I drive every day? And he says to me, always says to me, Porsche 911's the strongest out of the whole lot.
Yep.
But he said he don't like the sound of the engines. Now he's a Ferrari man, so obviously he's not going to like. He's not. You can't really compare a Ferrari sound to a Porsche sound, I don't think.
No, they're very different. It's a very different sound.
Yeah, but he's always talked about so Lotus being a sewing machine. That's what he calls them. TVI, he says, don't bother with them. Honestly, he says they're really poorly built. I know someone that bought what was it? It was an old TVR, but he bought it brand new, and he walked into the showroom. He drove off the showroom forecourt, and I think the steering wheel came off in his hand.
What, in a Lotus?
In a TVR.
Jesus, wow!
So this is the old days, This is going back to 1980s. But yeah, I don't understand it. I mean. There are other companies like what's that other company that they're German?
Yeah.
They make it's similar to a TVR. Starts with a G.
Yeah. They've got the funny headlights.
Yeah. Not Gumbala. Bloody hell! Now that's going to bug me now. But there are one-off companies. There are companies, and also there's another company, a British company, trying to make a comeback as well at the moment. What are they called? See, my brain's gone to mush. Yeah,
Bristol are making a comeback, aren't they?
No, well, I hope so, because that's one of my favourite cars, Bristol's, because of the aerospace connections.
Yeah.
That'd be nice if they come back. What are they bloody called? I'm supposed to have, they're based in Wales. Oh, man.
That's going to bug me now as well.
they hang on a minute. Let me have a look. I'm going to just have a look now. Just gonna have a quick look. Man,
do the same, so we can find it.
Based in Wales, and he emailed me. The owner emailed me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Could I come on your podcast?" They're trying to make a comeback. They were owned by another gentleman, and that, I don't understand why cars like that don't take off, but they can't mass produce their cars. Their workshop is the same size as my workshop downstairs. It's not.
Yeah, that's not. You're pushing out probably 1 or 2 units a month then.
No, but when you look at like Tesla's factory, have you seen their factory?
The gigafactories are a joke.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, all the robots messing around and stuff in there, and it's pretty impressive what Elon Musk has actually.
Oh, it is. It really is.
And now what he's achieving in space is amazing. You know?
I mean, recyclable rockets. Who would have thought? Do you know what I mean? You had NASA with all this money that they got from the government, spending billions of dollars a year on R&D, and then all of a sudden this guy comes from nowhere who invented PayPal and decides he's going to build a rocket that can re-enter the atmosphere. I'm just like, it's just unbelievable. It really is.
Yes, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But it's good that he's challenging the market, because that's what we need. We need
healthy competition in that area. I mean, that's why I believe, I'm not sure if you know about this, but Jeff Bezos stood down from Amazon
to do space stuff. Yeah,
I think he's focusing on Blue Origin, which is his competing company not against SpaceX, but just another company out there doing similar stuff. Because most of these guys that are leading pioneers of the world, I think they all know now that the final frontier is space. No pun intended there from Star Trek, but it really is the next big thing. I think we've exhausted most of our potential on Earth. I think the next thing we need to do is look to the stars now and start focusing on making it a normal thing. Like, it needs to be as normal as turning a key and flying into the stratosphere and going to the moon for the day and coming back. It needs to be that easy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether but I work for a company that sends spaceships and satellites into space.
Oh, nice.
That's what I do. That's my day job. That's what I do. And I remember there's quite a few questions that I had is why are we relying on 1 or 2 launch sites? That's number 1.
Yeah.
And number 2 is, why are we still using ballistic missiles for launching spacecraft into space?
Yeah.
That's what we've been doing for a long time.
I think as we're witnessing at the moment, there's a lot of injection coming in from the private sector. And I think that's how we're going to push the boundaries here. And I think what will happen is you'll get public spending getting involved later on when they see that it's actually commercially viable. Same situation like we discussed before with hydrogen fuel. Some privateer is going to come along and completely capitalize on it. Then all the big money comes in afterwards. So it's basically cause and effect. So I think the more we keep pushing this in the private sector, the more it's going to have to be changed from government money essentially. When they start injecting into doing that more launching sites across the UK, across Europe with ESA.
We launched one a couple of weeks ago on SpaceX. I think that's Elon Musk, isn't it? Yeah. So
what, the one from Cape Canaveral in Florida?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know he's got a couple in California, and I think he's building one in Arizona as well, I think.
Yes, he is. Yeah. I'm still not up to speed with Elon Musk. I've not ignored him, but kind of tried to steer clear of all that commercial side for a long time. But now I'm interested, because obviously he's moving things into space at such a rate now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. He's not messing around. He really has. I don't know how much he's involved with tech, because I think he's still owner of both and is still CEO of both. But I think that his focus, especially as of late, has been far more on SpaceX than it has been on Tesla. He's far more fascinated at the concept, because I think it's, for someone of that caliber, like mentally, I just think that has his attention, because it's something that he doesn't quite understand yet, which is why he sees that probably as a worthy adversary, so to speak.
I suppose when you're that rich, you can do anything. If you're, this is what I say to a lot of people: if you can think it and you can see it, and you believe in it, and then you can kind of, I don't know what they call it, as some sort of seeing a vision of what you want to achieve, and then fair enough, you can probably do it. I mean, I never thought I'd be doing this. 3 years ago it was a dream. And now I'm speaking to wonderful people like yourself about my favourite subjects. It's just crazy. It's crazy. So what do you think of the resto mod world then? Like, because at the moment we're seeing a lot of that.
I could talk for days on this. You know what? Since I moved to the States, I've really had a newfound appreciation for it. And I've realized how viable it is in the automotive industry specifically. I think that what you're able to do as a consumer is you can buy a product and then immediately, especially if you're living in the States, think about how you can make it your own. So, it's characterized by what you do to it. A lot of people think, especially in the UK and Europe, there are some very good brands like Novitec do amazing aftermarket work. I mean, they have a wind tunnel in Germany where they do all their testing for their carbon fiber composite materials. So the car that you're getting post tuning and bodywork is better than the car from the factory. So we're at that level now where you've got companies like Dynon. Steve Dynon, his name is. He's big on M cars, so he does all the aftermarket tuning for M cars. If you go down to his headquarters in California, it's almost as big as like the main factory of Porsche now in Stuttgart. It's unbelievable. The size and scale of these things now in the aftermarket world it's blowing up, and I love it. I think it's great. I'm a part of it. I've done it. And I say power to it. I think it should grow exponentially.
Do you think that the value of the car goes down or up when you start to rest on mod stuff?
It depends what it is. I think that those lines are blurred a little bit. I think what you're seeing, for example, if you look at have you heard about Singer? About Singer?
Oh, bloody! I love that brand.
So he's gone about doing this as well as Richard Tuttle as well. I'm not sure if you saw that new off-road thing that came out a few weeks ago.
I did. Beautiful car. God.
I mean, I was salivating when I saw that thing.
I had to have a quiet moment to myself when I saw that.
Woo! Wow. Like, oh my God. But I just it's companies like those that are bespoke, that I think that the value of their cars and what they're charging to build a car like that, it's £2 million plus to build a car like that. So they're not messing around. And I think the materials they're using in order to accomplish that is what makes them valuable and what holds the residuals. But if you're doing just an exhaust modification and a couple of tweaks here and there, I don't think it's going to affect the value of the car too much, personally, as long as it's minimal. If you do a whole sort of, so if you start changing bodywork and making the appearance of the car look completely different to stock, then I think that's when you start devaluing a car, depending on what year it is. Okay. I'm gonna start to finish the podcast, mate. I don't want to, but I know you've got things to do and I've got things to do here. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions that I ask all my classic car and supercar people. So 5-car garage, unlimited value. What would you buy? Oh God. Okay. Right. Eagle Speedster.
Yes.
I love that thing. I think it's gorgeous. I'm gonna go F12 Enlargo. Which is the Ferrari F12 with the Enlargo kit from Novitec. So that would be my absolute, idiot mobile on a Sunday, for example. Murcielago SV.
Yes, beautiful car.
And then I'd go BAC Mono.
BAC Mono. Now,
that's those single wheel cars from up north. They build like F1 cars for the streets, basically. They look like F1 cars, but they're, I think.
Oh yes, I've seen one. BAC
Mono. And last but not least, probably one of the big three. I'll probably go with a LaFerrari.
A LaFerrari, Oh wow, wow. Okay, all right. That's an interesting bunch of cars there, definitely. and some of them are on my list actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. The Eagle is definitely, and the Murcielago is 100%. Yeah.
Those are all cars I think that would invoke like an emotional response. Every time I got behind the wheel, I just think that it would take me to a place that most cars couldn't achieve.
Yeah. See, with me, I like to, when I drive somewhere, I want to create some emotion, whether I'm driving it or somebody else sees it on the street. I want to see emotion from people. I believe driving is an emotional experience, and it's a thing to share with everybody. That's why I never understood the whole. There's a guy in my workplace, actually, he'd probably kill me if I tell you his name, but he wraps his car in like a shrink wrap in the garage. So he puts it in one of those bags and then sucks all the air out of it.
Oh yeah.
Every year when it gets wet outside in the UK, which is like what's that, 7 months of the year?
Yeah.
6 months. So for 6 months of the year, don't drive the car. And he won't drive it in the rain, which I can never get my head around that. You know, cars are there to be driven. Even the ones at the Concourse of Elegance, they should be driven. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree. They should not be museum pieces. They should not be ornaments. They need to be driven.
Yeah. Did you go to the Concourse of Elegance this year?
I did not go to the Concours d'Elegance this year, no, but it was on the plans for next year, and also, and I've never done Goodwood either, so I intend on doing that when it reopens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this year a lot of places open. I'm into like Caffeine in the Machine. Have you heard of them?
Oh yeah. I've seen I follow them on Instagram. I love some of their posts. They do some brilliant stuff.
Yeah. So someone put it to me and said to me, actually, it's an hour and a half from where you live, and sometimes it can take you an hour and a half to get into central London. So why would you go to central London when you can go straight to Stratford-upon-Avon, sit down, have a beer, talk to car fans, talk to car people?
I would love to go there.
Yeah, that's on my list of places to go this year. That's that, and I want to go to the Heritage, Bicester Heritage site.
Oh yeah,
Bicester or Bicester, I can never get it. You've not been there?
No, but that's another one on the bucket list.
That's another one that I want to go to. Now that has changed over the last 3 or 4 years, so that has become little pockets of tuners and car people selling cars, as well as people training old school technicians, vintage car dealers. They've all moved into this airfield now, which is supposed to be a really good place to hang out, and they have car coffee mornings and stuff.
Oh, really?
I can't wait for them to open. Yeah. They're going to be a really good place to go to. But I know in America you've got places like that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you've got Monterey Car Week, which is the second largest automotive event on the global calendar. And that in itself is just undeniably one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, because when you show up, you don't need to go to the events if you don't want to, or any of the tents like Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Bentley, all the big guys are there doing their own thing. They unveil a lot of new cars there every year as well. But what you'll see like 3 or 4 F50s on the road driving like they stole them in this area. And all you need to do is drive around the town of Monterey, which is about an hour south of San Francisco. And you see 250 TRs, you see old Jags, old McLaren F1 GTRs on the road, Lanzantes, all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, everything on the road, driving.
Really?
It's like Disney World for cars.
When is that?
It's in August. I think it's the second week of August. And it's the second largest event on the automotive calendar in the world.
Is it easy to get a hotel within the area?
Yeah, but you probably need to book at least 6 to 8 months before you get there, because they literally is packed. But you don't even need to go to the events. You just drive around and you see everything that you've seen since you were a child up until present day.
That sounds that sounds right up my street, that sort of stuff.
But they're on the road. They're driving all these things on the road. Like you'll see like an old pre-Second World War car with the gears on the side of the chassis, and this guy with his goggles on, like driving down the street in front of like a Bugatti Veyron or something.
I love it. I love that. I love that sort of stuff. Okay, so let me ask you another question then. So, if you were to drive anywhere, what road would you like to drive on, and who would you take with you, and what car would you go in? What do you want to go in?
Okay. So if I was to drive anywhere, it would probably be Route Napoleon with Clarkson in a P1.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, you see, you're making me lose my professional stature here. You know, I'm getting all excited now. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's probably the best answer I've had. Yeah, because Jeremy Clarkson would be hilarious, wouldn't he?
Oh my God, it's just I feel if I was to get him in a room, I would like tear his ear off for at least a decade. I have a decade of information in my mind that I just want to just converse with this guy. He's just I love him. I think he's great.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. Yeah. Okay. There was another question, if I can find it. Jesus Christ! I'll tell you. You know what? My son kept me up all night, and now I'm suffering the consequences right here on live on a podcast. Give me a second. I'll just get.
Yeah, sure.
It's been fun though. It's been really fun talking to you, man.
Absolutely, mate. It's been great.
Let me just get the podcast up here. No, hang on. Yeah, that was it. So, resurrecting a forgotten bankrupt car brand, which would it be and why?
Resurrecting a forgotten bankrupt car. Oh, that's easy. Lancia.
Yeah.
Simply because I think they built some of the best cars that graced unpaved roads during the Group B rally stages back in the 70s. I think that would, for me, would be the absolute creme de la creme. To see those guys come back and sort of innovate in the space now, I think would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. With the original designers and mechanics and stuff, the guys that founded the whole company. If we had those guys with a similar mindset building that company again, it would definitely be there, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting because I always say I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they designed, like, I don't know, the Countach, or when or when Singer came up, and Singer and Tatiel came up with this off-roader. You know, this Baja Porsche. Really. You know what I mean? Like imagine being in the room, just in the corner somewhere, watching all the designers come up with this idea. Because I know what it feels like, because we do that with spacecraft. We all sit there and we talk about what we're going to do and how's it going to get here, and how's it going to fly, and how's it going to get from, you know, perigee to apogee, or apogee to perigee, whatever. And so it's really interesting to think, what would they have been talking about? Like, you know, like the Bugatti, for example, the Bugatti engine, for example. Yeah. How many valves has that got? 48?
It's 16.
It's 16, but there was a 48 valve. Was that the EB110?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm getting that mixed up.
The EB110 had 48 valves, I think.
I'm getting it right. I think it's 16 pistons. I think that's what it's got. And valves is probably double.
Yeah. So you know, who came up with that idea? You know what I mean? Like, how did they get to that? And then when you look at some of the guys that are working in these places, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm talking out of turn here, but they're village people. They're people that, you know what I mean? They're not super rich. They're not anything special. They're just mechanically they're special guys for that. Yeah. But you know, they don't live in extravagant lifestyles. They don't have yachts and boats and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, because when you look at all the supercars that come out of Italy, for example, such a small country produces so many beautiful cars.
It really does. It's quite fascinating how that works. I look at that, like, for example, I'm not sure if you've seen it, like the Ford versus Ferrari movie with Matt Damon and Christian Bale. And it's the same again. I mean, I always like to say it like this. I think when these guys came up with these ideas, we have to remember that there wasn't a lot of competition back then. And it wasn't, I think that to innovate and come up with something fresh was quite common because there was a lot of room for improvement and innovation at that time, back in the 60s, back in the 70s, back in the 50s. So if it wasn't going to be Enzo, it was always going to be someone else. It would have been someone else for sure. But you can't deny that they had a vision at that time to do what they did. But I don't think any of them would have thought it would have got as big as it is today. based on what they came up with back in the day. Like, I mean, Lamborghini, they used to make tractors.
Yeah.
Like that was what they started with. And I'm just like, how do you go from a tractor to building the first mid-engine supercar ever? Like, I don't know how that happens, but it's unbelievable.
Yes, man, it's crazy. That's crazy, isn't it? And I talk to my father-in-law about this all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, he is a master at fixing engines, to the point where he's actually diagnosed an old V12 Aston Martin on the phone to another mechanic.
Really?
Yeah.
What, just by hearing the noise?
Just by hearing the noise, yeah.
Gee whiz. Well, that's a gift of gab right there.
Yeah. And the guy was so confused when he phoned me afterwards, and he said, "Your father-in-law just fixed the car, or told me how to fix the car." And I said to my wife, I said, "Where's your dad from, man? Like, what the hell? Like, where's this? You know what I mean? He's like a wizard, you know? It's like..."
Yeah. He's the Gandalf of the mechanic world.
Yeah. But he can't read and write.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like, these are the sorts of people that you're talking about here. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And it astonishes me. It really does. But,
it is quite fascinating, that, actually.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, honestly.
Likewise, it's been great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we can do another one in a few months' time when you're settled back in LA, or
sure.
I can come on your show if you want to talk about anything. Just tell my listeners where to find you, man. And
yeah, absolutely. So it's at Wings and Whips on all platforms possible. So from Twitter all the way through to TikTok and Instagram, Wings and Whips. D Knightley is my name. 737 pilot. Huge car enthusiast, obviously, and soon to be actually announcing this, but we're starting a new automotive TV show in the States towards the end of the summer this year. So it's probably going to be on Netflix. So
well, make sure you send me the link, and I'll post it on my LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook page, and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, look, it was absolute pleasure, Dan Knightley. I wish you all the best, and hopefully we'll catch up in the future. Yeah.
Absolutely, would love to. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, man. Take care. See you, man.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.